morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it's our great honor to have Dr. Joseph Kim coming from LG to join our program today. Dr. Kim, would you like to say hello to the audience?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all the audiences, and it's my honor to meeting you in this session.
Dr. Joseph Kim is Vice President at the Intellectual Property Center at LG Electronics, managing a team responsible for licensing, counseling, open source, and copyright. It's our great honor for us to learn from Dr. Joseph Kim for the current global IP market.
Well, recently I have been attending several IP conferences worldwide, especially Taiwan, end of August, and a couple of months ago, Beijing and Shanghai. And the trend in the conference was focused on how to boost the market, IP market in Asian countries. And it will be continued in the next round of internet conference as well. And perhaps the whole worldwide trend is focused on how to boost the IP market in the future.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Dr. Kim joined back LG in 2011 after spending several decades at other LG affiliations like the Gold Star LG Semicon and LG Display. Dr. Kim's professional career in the IP industry spanned almost 30 years, with extensive experience in IP litigation licensing at LGE and LG affiliate. And he has been involved in IP matters covers a vast number of technology, including telecom, communication, consumer electronics, liquid crystal display, organic light emitted diodes, and semiconductors. Therefore, we would like Dr. Kim to share his profound experience to enlighten us his view on IP market in Asia and what's the difference between Asian market and the rest of the world.
Well, thank you for your questions. If we are focusing on IP market specifically, there is a big difference from US market as well as European market. That's because IP market grows whenever the R&D activities will become stronger and stronger. Right now, the Asian market has a period that the number of manufacturing companies are increasing. Because of that, right now we are working on both R&D and manufacturing area lab. Because of that, we are focusing on protecting business rather than evaluating the value of IP portfolio. So in that regard, most of manufacturing company-wise really working hard in defending most of IP issues from IP holders worldwide. So considering European market and US market wise, they are more focused on R&D and also service area only. In that regard, we understand that there are many MPEs in Europe as well as in the United States. On the other hand, in Asian wise, we have more manufacturing companies are existing.
Thank you, Dr. Kim, for sharing his view on the market between Asia and the rest of the world. And according to our study, Dr. Kim's expertise include both offensive defensive matters through strategic litigation and licensing. And with your profound experience, would you mind to share us your experience about the IP valuation, and that's what you call automatic valuation systems?
Well, recently, actually for the past 2 or 3 years, there were many transactions carrying out in worldwide, such as Nokia patent was sold for $4.5 billion. And also Motorola patent was sold to almost $12.5 billion to Google. And there were more cases were transacted in the IP market, and because of such kind of huge astronomous amount of money was trade-off because of IP matters. Now the whole IP market is concerned about the value of IP portfolio, how to evaluate the quality of patent portfolio, so that what would be the reasonable price of the patent has become more important than before. But the biggest concern about valuation is going on several factors, such as number one, whether there will be a reasonable basis to give a certain price on that. In that regard, all those data such as price and patent quality, and also whether there will be any commercialized strong points, all those issues goes whether those data were reliable in view of objective points. So for that purpose, actually there were many different approaching, having income approach or cost approach or market approach or option approach. Such kind of method were used to evaluate the patent in the past, but those were focused on a very subjective data rather than objective. That was the traditional difficulties in evaluating the value of patents. But what I worked together with a couple other members in evaluating patent was focus on how we can get the objective data and giving a very reasonable price on the patents. So in that regard, how we set up the format for the valuation was coming from how to set up the market size of the industry. So the industry will be categorized such as many different technology area. But for example, if we will pick mobile industry, we can pick mobile industry very easily. But how to define the market size will go to the industry having a certain level of patent filings were filed. So only we collect those companies together and get the sales revenue together. And then that is the total market of smartphone area. But the market size will be defined in that area in that way. But the more important part is that whether it covers revenues and profit contributed by the patents to get the value of the patent. So to define each patent value, what we approached was that we have to define what is the reliable market size defined by patents. So how we're going to do it is that each company has its own sales revenue publicly available. At the same time, there will be a publicly available patent portfolio. So each company's revenue divided by each company's patent portfolio, then we will get sales revenue per each patent. And that all the companies' patents, revenue per patents collected together and divided the whole industry, then we can have a mean value of sales revenue for each patent. That is very important things. And there is certain revenue for each patent. Then that revenue multiplied by the total patents in the industry. That is a total estimated market size of sales revenue. And then, what is the profit? Profit is the same thing, that each company has announced its own company's sales profit to the industry. So those are publicly available as well. So we will get that profit at the same time. So that company's profit will be divided by each company's patent portfolio, and all the companies will accumulate together and divided by the whole patent portfolio. Then there was mean value of sales profit per patent as well. So that is multiplied by total patent portfolio. Then that's total estimated market profit. So that is how we can get profit and also sales revenue. And then the next issue is that what is each patent valuation? Well, normally the patent life will go to 20 years long since filing date, but life cycle of the product does not continue to such as a long period of 20 years. So in that regard, we need to have a real life cycle of the product. How we can find out that? Well, there is certain methods which has been known to the public already, which is patent citation can be used as a technology cycle. So using such kind of theory, we can get 5-year term is very relevant lifetime of the technology in mobile industry. So that means only the effective valuation period will go to only 5 years, not 20 years. That's very important. And at the same time, each patent has different values actually. There is total profit attributed by the patent, but at the same time each patent has different value. How we can find it? And also total market profit is attributed not only patent, but also marketing power and cost reductions. Many of other factors are contributed to perform such kind of total market profit. To find out that there's a second step to approach finding out such kind of factors. Number one, what is the portion of the invention or patent attributed to the market profit? That's important. How we can find out that? Well, normally R&D part contribution to the profit is very relevant to that calculation. In that regard, how we're going to do is that each company's R&D people divide by total corporate members. That is the portion of only patents attribution portion will go to the market profit. In other way around is that only patent counted in that sense, so we only count inventors only, and that is also another approach. So in real world is that we only count inventors numbers only versus employees, and we can use that proportion to the market profit actually contributed by the patents. And that's one factor in each company. And also, then there is a certain, life cycle such as 5 years only in mobile industry. That multiplied together, then the whole, profit generated by the patent in a company. And also there are certain factors. As I told you about, each patent value has different numbers. How are we going to find it? And there are many publicly available IP database having a patent score on each patent. So we can add up all the scores in the industry of the patents in mobile, and then it will be divided by each patent scores. Then that's the value of each patent, actual profit. That is how we can find out the actual value of each patent. So each company has its own different patent portfolio, and those each and every separate profit generated by each patent will be added up based on each company's patent portfolio. Then that is the actual reasonable value of each company's patent, as well as each company's its patent value. That's the concept of automated patent valuation system. I briefly explained to you, but you may not understand everything, but it's a brief understanding to your reference.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kim's kind sharing for this automatic value system. Dr. Kim has has successfully managed numerous strategic IP transaction, M&A transactions, and alliance. Dr. Kim also received the Intellectual Asset Management list among the top 40 marketers, as well as the world-leading IAM IP Strategy 300. Dr. Kim received his PhD from Kunming University, Korea, a master's degree in IP law from Franklin Pierce Law Center, and a bachelor from electronic engineering from Hanyang University, Korea. Dr. Kim, would you mind give a word of advice how Taiwanese company should try to learn from your experience to maintain their competence on modern IP management and technology innovation?
Well, it's really good question, and each company has its own strategy in establishing a certain portfolio for the business, and in that regard, I believe my experience-wise, patent strategy must be aligned with the business always. That's very important. At the same time, business must be combined with R&D strategy as well. In my experience-wise, you gotta see the market as a whole, which means that the business will not stay in the domestic only. It goes to foreign countries market as well. So depending on how you're gonna set up the big picture of business in a company, you cover all those worldwide business section with your patent strategy, which will cover and protect your business model. That's very important. At the same time, one behind picture beyond the business is that there are so many R&D companies in the world. If you will neglect what they are doing in the industry, you will just disregard someone else's ideas. So you have to watch and monitor someone else's R&D investment and R&D, efforts in getting new ideas. That's very important. Unless you will monitor all of those things, I don't think company can get any reliable portfolios to cover the patent and also the business. That's my understanding.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Recently, we published a book titled Law, Politics, and Revenue Extraction on Intellectual Property by Cambridge Scholar Publishing. And this book examines numerous pressing issues on intellectual property rights, covering the topics which Dr. Kim have just mentioned. And these analyses are complemented by in-depth case study and demonstration on how company can benefit enormously from an integrated application of all kinds of intellectual property rights. Dr. Kim currently draft 2 chapters. One is IP market in Asia, and another chapter is IP evaluation, so-called automatic valuation system, which he has just elaborated a little bit of the accents. And then we hope this book will be the essential reading for everyone who is interested on IP, and then we hope soon we will have the opportunity to invite Dr. Kim back to share his wisdom, intelligence, and accents on managed IP for our audience. Thank you very much, Dr. Kim.
Thank you very much, Professor MeiHsin, and thank you all the audiences listening about my comments, and hopefully that will be helpful to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.